good morning, good night, good evening, whatever applies. I mean, right now, we have a very, very interesting presentation today with Alex and Olivia. We're going to talk about how do you pick a good stock? What goes into that? Do you just lick your finger and check where the wind's coming, or is there something more fundamental about it than that? Olivia has been with us now for 6 years, and she now has her fiduciary license, which is very important because she's going to be helping us transfer information to clients on a weekly basis about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how they're doing it. So I want Olivia to show us the first deck of slides here on how to pick a good stock, and then we'll hand it over to Alex to bring it home.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Olivia. I've been here at JCN for 6 years, but really, I mean, it's a family business, so I've been in it since it started. But I would just go ahead and talk a little bit about me since I'm going to meet with clients a little bit more now. I would like to talk about my passion for the business is to help create memories. And it goes back to my grandmother. She was my dad's first client, and the big trip that she took us on was a trip to Alaska. It was a 2-week trip to Alaska, and it created a lifetime of memories that we still talk about today. And it really drives me to make this happen for other people because it really meant a lot to me. And this is something that I want to focus on. If we talk about why we invest in the stock market, we need to invest to protect us against inflation and to build long-term financial security and for your retirement income. So how we do that is we participate in the growth of strong companies. So what that means is when you invest in a company, what you're really doing is buying ownership in a business. So how do we do that? So we look at the fundamentals of the company. This is not the sole factor in how we invest or how we choose investments, but this is just an example of some of the fundamentals that we look at. So we look at sales growth, profit margin, earnings, free cash flow, and balance sheet strength. So for earnings, we'll take a look at Costco and we'll look at the sales growth. So we want to see steady growth. So it's consistent growth each year. So we don't have like 1 year it's making a lot and the next year it's down a lot. We like the consistent, steady growth. So from here you can see in 2017 it was 129 billion, and today it's 268. So that's a good factor. And then the next thing that we look at is profit. Similar to the sales, we want to see a profit that's steadily increasing. So we take a look at the revenue of the stocks. So there is quite a bit of growth here. And then also the gross profit margin. A 60% gross profit margin is huge. And this is Google. We look at the earnings per share and EBITDA. So again, we're looking back at 1.42 in 2017 and today 9.48. That's about a 700% growth rate there. And then we'll also look at free cash flow. This is one of the most important factors because this tells us that the company is very healthy, very strong. It has a lot of cash. They're not struggling for money for growth. So we can see here there's an increase. And then lastly, we'll look at balance sheet strength. So this is NVIDIA. So you can think of this as in after all the debts have been paid. And so you take your assets minus your liabilities and you still have a positive number. This is a very good indicator. This is a very strong company and they're able to grow more and do more things with their company. So that's just a quick, brief snippet of an examples of what we look for in fundamentals. Now, Alex is going to talk about some more technical parts.
Thank you, Olivia. Yeah, that was a great breakdown of probably the more important factors that we look at. Those are not the only factors, but those are some of the ones that do weight the most in our analysis. So when we process all this data, the biggest thing that I like to communicate is how difficult this is to do in any manual sense. I mean, we have a massive database that has every single financial metric for every single publicly traded company back at least 30 years, including the dead companies that no longer exist or have been acquired. So that's why at the start of this, it's pretty impossible for any one single human or group of humans to analyze this amount of data, because there's literally not enough hours in the day to go through it and do all the measurements. So that's why we had to build our own technology with the help of David Bergstrom, our database engineer, to build the technology and the algorithms that enable us to process all this data automatically. So that's the most important part of this, is to make sure we have the right survivorship type data source that's accurate, that's coming directly from the company's announcements and SEC filings. Then what we do is we take all those raw numbers and we create widely known factors, but we also have some proprietary factors that we've done with our own calculation. The next thing we do with those numbers is we make scoring, ranking and scoring systems. And the way to think about this is, if you look at a company and their revenue was $1 billion, that could be good, that could be bad. You have to measure that in a few different ways. And the 3 different ways that we look at this are versus itself. So is the company doing better versus its prior history in the past? Then we say, is this company doing good versus all the other companies in its sector group? Because healthcare companies are not energy companies, and technology companies are not defense companies. You have to kind of look at apples to apples. So that's the second type of score. And then the third type of score is, how good is this company doing versus everybody else in the entire universe? And the way to try to normalize this, you can look at this table here, and this is a very, very rudimentary way to how we build a composite score. So we would take one metric, any of the ones that we just spoke about, possibly a growth metric, and you can look at 3 different stocks. One is 90, one is 80, one is 70. So in our scoring system, we like to make it between 0 and 100, just like your grades would be in school. And the way we make it is kind of like a curve system, where to get an A+ score is very, very difficult. It's not every company that can achieve this. So that when we do find scores that are very high, they stick out and they rank the most in our composite score. Then we take another metric like value or quality. We add these together and then we divide it by the total number of scores to get a composite score. And the reason we do this is because we want to weight each factor in the score, but we also want to weight some of the factors more than others, because for certain types of stocks, like growth stocks, valuation might not matter so much. We look more at quality and growth. And for value stocks, we try to look for balance sheet strength and the steadiness or the predictability of the earnings or the profits. So in this case, if you were to look at these 3 stocks with all these different numbers, stock A is scored the second, stock B is scored the highest, stock C is scored the third, and so we would consider stock B for the portfolio holding. We're going to look at a real case study. These are real companies that we consider to put in the portfolio. And when you look at the retail consumer sector, the top 3 companies that you would consider buying would be Target, Walmart, and Costco. If you take that same process we just did with a lot of the different fundamentals, you can see out of 100, Target scores 81, Walmart scores 82, and Costco is extremely strong, 94. And we're going to show you why that's important to track scores over time, because they can lead to outperformance of that particular stock. So some of the metrics that we use are not necessarily just growth rates, but also acceleration rates. So we want to see something that's steady and growing, but we also take large notice to things that are accelerating their growth. So their growth is actually getting more and more over time in the recent past, and those things get more heavily weighted than others. And remember, we don't just compare them to the industry group, we compare them to everybody in the entire stock market and their own history in their past. So we have 3 different trajectories that we calculate in our database. In the short term, fundamentals don't update very often. Remember, these are quarterly numbers. They, over a short period of time, 6 months to a year, the stock price can move in all different types of ways, according to news, according to tariffs, according to Fed interest rate movements. according to all different types of things. So there's a lot of noise in the short term. So the fundamentals aren't necessarily weighted in a short period of time for any company. And that's why it's important to have a long holding period, at least 3 to 5 years when you're doing this type of investment process, because that's when the company's stock price should reflect the fundamentals over that period of time. So you can see here over the short period of time, Target's down, Costco's up a little, and Walmart's up, a little bit more than Costco. And you could probably attribute this to just the noise. Target had like a bad marketing campaign or something. So if we go to the next time period out, which is a little bit more longer term, kind of what I call medium term, about 2-year period, you could see, as according to our ranks, the Costco is starting to outperform Walmart and Target. And remember, that was the highest scoring company at the time and continues to be. And you're really starting to see the fundamentals reflect the price movement at around the 2 or 3 year mark. And if we go even further in time, which is in our goal, the minimum amount of time that we're trying to hold companies is around 5 years. I know it's difficult for some people because it's a long time or seemingly a long time, but this is really where we can see the process and the research reach its true fruition. So over the 5-year period, you could see that Costco achieved 176% return, Walmart 122, and Target minus 36. So again, if you are constantly investing in the highest ranking companies, historically, this process has proven to be successful in choosing long-term outperforming stocks. So this is a great example, a great primer to how we invest in the companies the way we do, and we're sure to go into more detail in future presentations.
Alex, I really appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to have an ongoing, probably once a quarter. We're going to take different positions and share how those work. And with Olivia's help, we're going to get I think, an improved look on our videos, ever improving. So I look forward to introducing somebody to Olivia on a more formal basis in a one-on-one meeting. She's helped out with quite a few of them in the last month, and I found a big asset. So take care. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. Talk to y'all all real soon. Goodbye.
Bye.